Paul, it's fantastic to be talking to you while you're standing in a venue. Tell us where you are at the moment and the show that you're at.
Yeah, for sure, Dan. Yes, very excited for many reasons to be here in the Congress Center in Querétaro, Mexico. We're just about to start the second day of Greentech Americas. It's a show about protected horticulture that we do as a joint venture with RAI Amsterdam, who does Greentech in Amsterdam every year when there's not COVID. And this show in particular was originally planned for its launch last March, which, as you can imagine, last March was not the best time for trade shows in the world.
Sure.
And we postponed it 2 weeks before doors opened. So we've had a few dates since then, but now we are finally opened the doors yesterday with the governor of the state of Querétaro being here for the ribbon cutting. And we now have our first Greentech Americas.
Fantastic. So, and I might not put this bit in, but I'm going to try the pronunciation of the venue or where it is. So I've got Querétaro Centro de Congresos in Mexico. How did I do?
Very good. Very good.
I've been practicing that all day. So listen, it was a launch, right? So it was going to launch last year. So obviously with any launch, you did the due diligence as to the gap in the market and the need. So bring the show to life, what it is, who attends, both from the visitor and the exhibitor side, please.
Right. Yeah, it's an industry that a lot of people don't really think about. It's part of the whole overall agriculture industry, but it's focused on what we call protected horticulture, which means everything within greenhouses. And that involves lots of technology about, even including artificial intelligence about when the plants need fertilizer, when they're ready to be harvested, when they're being watered. So there's watering systems. There's the peat, the things that we grow the plants in greenhouses. There's obviously the technology for the greenhouses themselves, the lighting, the irrigation systems in greenhouses, the sorting technology for picking the products and sorting them into different groups. And what is happening in the world of agriculture is us as consumers, and then as a result, the stores where we buy our food, become more demanding about wanting certain quantities of certain types of food on certain dates. And the reality is, in open field agriculture, you cannot guarantee 10 tons of tomatoes of a certain size for Walmart every second Tuesday. Sure. So protected horticulture is growing in leaps and bounds here in Mexico. In 10 years, just over 10 years, it's gone from less than 1,000 hectares to over 60,000 hectares that are in some form of protected, greenhouse format. And they go from low tech, just, coverings with tarps and plastic, to the very, very high tech, the glass and the metal and full on greenhouses. The biggest product here in Mexico done this way is tomatoes, but also cucumbers, peppers, chilies, and berries, and growing in others. The other big area that uses protected horticulture in all over the world is cannabis, which is soon to be legalized in Mexico. So that's another potential growth area.
Sure, because there's actually a big cannabis show in the States, right? Which is put on by MJ Biz, if I'm not mistaken,
right?
Cassandra Farrington. So, and actually, I think it's a growing area. Excuse the pun. In Europe, when you obviously had to postpone the show, clearly as a launch, you had built up, I guess, a number of significant partners. Obviously, you had brought on board some, I guess, bellwether exhibitors. How have they been in terms of rolling over to this year? Is the show, and most people that booked in originally, are they there this time around? Did you add to that? How's that worked?
Yeah, we were very, very lucky. Obviously, with the joint venture with the RAI, we had a lot of international exhibitors. International exhibitors is difficult still this time, with COVID. But the biggest chunk of our international companies come from the Netherlands, who's a big leader in this sector. Why they do it in Amsterdam. And the majority of them have offices or partners in Mexico. But now with the opening of travel, there are quite a few Dutch people here at the show that flew into the show. I did, as I mentioned, had plans to introduce you to one of them, but he apparently has not made it in yet this morning.
Yeah.
But you know, we were lucky. The show was sold out before we postponed it. And I would say about 90% of the exhibitors that were originally booked to be in the show are here this year. Excellent. On the grower side, the growers are coming to the show. That's the visitor side, the people, the farmers or the growers, they're called, who have the greenhouses and are producing the fruits, vegetables, and berries. And it's an industry that has not shut down at all due to the pandemic. As you can imagine, food continued. So for them, you know, they've kept working. You know, food production is an essential service. So there have been Dutch coming over throughout the whole last 18 months. So actually, I mean, I have my mask off now to talk to you. We have to use masks here, and the aisles are a bit wider than normal because of safe physical distancing. But in general, it looks exactly like a regular show. Our first day of attendance was more or less in line with what we would have been expecting a year and a half ago. You know, we think the first day is usually the slowest day in Mexico. So we're certainly expecting more people today and tomorrow. Conference programs are going very well. The majority of our conference speakers were able to attend, but a half a dozen we have to do via Zoom who weren't able to travel due to you know, where they were coming from. But you know, we have exhibitors from the States, from Canada, from Europe, and then of course from Mexico.
So how many exhibitors are in the hall this time around?
We have 124 exhibitors.
Oh wow! Okay, so it's significant. Okay, and in terms of the buyers, the delegates, how many would you?
Well, be happy with somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000.
Okay,
that could be a good number for our first year. About 150 attendees to the conference program. So sure. Overall, everyone knows this is new for Mexico. You know, it is, as I said, we said, a launch. So we certainly expect it to keep growing here. Because the agricultural sector and what they're selling to Canada and the States is not going to stop. It's just going to continue to grow. Sure.
And you mentioned that some of the sessions, because the speakers couldn't fly in, were being done virtually. Obviously, this type of show, I guess, is all about face-to-face because people need to see the product. What are you doing generally, not necessarily at the show, but say, I guess the next show you'll hope to do in March next year rather than August, right? So what are you doing between those periods to sort of keep this community engaged from a digital perspective?
Well, we have a great advisory board on this with this show that brings in the Berry Association, the Protected Horticultural Association, you know, the Agricultural University here in Querétaro. So we'll continue to work with them. We'll probably do a couple of webinars. We'll participate in some of their events. And then our show, is going to be planned. We moved it to give a bit more space. Will be the end of April in 22. Right. Okay. And we'll go back to March in 23, which we think is the perfect timing for this show. Sure. So overall, you know, we're very excited. Like I said, the Dutch are very involved. Last night, the Dutch ambassador hosted a reception for all of the Dutch companies and their guests. And
that's why your exhibitor. That's why your exhibitor hasn't turned up yet, because he was at the reception.
Well, yeah, I'm activity in his booth, so I may walk down there. And see.
Yeah. So listen, whilst you're walking, I see that obviously you have lots of shows planned for Tarsus Mexico over the next 6 to 12 months. What's it like having to plan, I guess, so many shows in such a short period of time?
Yeah, it's going to be a tiring fall. We have 7 more shows after this between now and November. So we have 3 that are all co-located in 2 weeks. And then we have 4 shows in November. So it is challenging. But at the end of the day, we are all very happy to be working again. You know, it's been a very hard 18 months. And so we're just excited to be able to do what we do best.
Tell me about the situation in Mexico generally from I guess because I can't remember what you told me before, whether the rules, if you like, or the legislation is done by state or region, or how does it work there?
On COVID, you mean?
Yeah.
The COVID regulations. Yeah. So the federal government is using what they consider a stoplight system based on the data of number of cases, hospitalizations, percent of hospital capacity available. And it's, it's red is obviously the worst, then orange is an extra one, yellow and green. So right now, Mexico is going through a bit of a third wave, thanks to Delta. Yeah. So a bunch of states are in orange. However, the Mexican government, and it's sort of in its position from the beginning, just doesn't have the resources to shut down the economy. So what they're doing is they put in stricter protocols under orange, but we've been allowed to do shows in all states where we've operated so far under orange. Under red, you can't do any trade shows, but as long as it's orange or below, we're able to do shows just with bigger aisles, lots of gel. There are capacity limits. So there's counting at the door, counting everyone coming in, counting everyone going out. It's a certain number of people per square meter, or each person has to have 7 square meters around them. So that's how you do the capacity. Right. But again, we're in big venues, right? Yeah. With very high ceilings.
Lots of ventilation. Yeah.
We open the loading dock doors for more ventilation. Everyone's using masks. It's all very secure. We also, you register with a QR code every day, put in your information. So if there's outbreaks, you'll get a notice that there was an outbreak. You could have potentially been exposed. Sure. Obviously, we tell everyone, if you're sick, stay home. But overall, things are happening. I mean, restaurants are open with limited capacity. Gyms are open here in Mexico. Schools are finally reopening in person. Yeah. And they've been closed since last March. So overall, certainly COVID is not gone, but vaccinations are going up. We're vaccinating everyone over the age of 18 now here in Mexico. It's not as fast as it is in some countries, but it's not as slow as other countries. So, my staff, we're at 96% have had one shot, and almost 40% have had their second jab. Yeah. So we're getting there. And we're just going to have to keep working.
Well, listen, thank you so much. So what's the next show? I know you've got a bunch of shows. What's the next one you're at?
So the next one will be, it's combined, the Green Expo, Aquatech Mexico, and Intersolar Mexico, September 7th to 9th in Mexico City. Yep. And that will be exciting because that's our first show in Mexico City, or our first shows in Mexico City. We've done Monterrey, Guadalajara, and now Querétaro. And so it'll be good to be back in Mexico City, where we do most of our shows normally.
Sure. Hopefully one day I will come and see you. And
yes, please come.
We'll have a pina colada on the beach. Well, tequila. I was going to say pina colada.
No,
Got the wrong
margaritas. Yeah,
margaritas.
I would like to introduce you to Rando Cena from the company Hortus.
Well, our company's name is Hortus Supplies International. We're a supplier of everything in the horticulture. So from the moment that a greenhouse has been built, we can supply everything. So I'm talking about logistics, talking about just simple things as substrates or pots, gutters, whatever is necessary to grow in a greenhouse for whichever cultivate.
What inspired you to be at the show today?
Well, we have done this show in the Netherlands, indeed, in the Rai. And we just saw a huge potential in Mexico and just decided to participate also.
Do you do many shows across the world or across different regions?
Yeah. Yes, actually we do. In Vietnam, Canada, the United States, the Netherlands, Germany, a lot of countries around the world.
Sure. And how exciting is it for you to be back at shows, at trade shows? Because I guess you can't replicate talking like that, about your products online, right? People have to come and see you, talk about it. How exciting is it to be back at trade shows?
Well, actually, it's really exciting. Just being in contact with people again, face to face, being able to give somebody a hand or just muckle something. Yeah, I just love it. Really love it.
So I guess, the networking element of shows is very important.
I think that's the most important element of every show worldwide. And indeed, you cannot replicate this with a Zoom meeting or any other meeting, just a digital meeting.
Sure. And in terms of the setup of your stand and the layout of the show, would you say it's now pretty much back to what it was before? I know not this specific show, but other shows that you've done. or are you seeing many changes?
I've seen many changes besides the changes for the COVID regulations, of course, but also somebody made a valid point yesterday. I told him it's less crowded than it used to be, but he said you get more quality in the events right now, because a lot of people that just went to have a look and not being a very serious business-minded person is just not coming because they're really afraid of COVID. So
Sure.
Only the minded people are coming over here, and really people that are looking for something. So even though there are less people, there's more quality.
Yeah. What do you see as the main benefits of coming to Greentech?
I think the main benefit is, besides showing yourself, also the network of opportunities you get. It's just an amazing opportunity you get that you don't get anywhere else.